and my personal style is I like to be respectful of our competition because there's a lot of smart guys in the industry and many of us are friends. That said, the view behind iBricks that motivated the acquisition was in part, architectural. I firmly believe that a shared nothing architecture scales better than a shared everything architecture, which is what we have before. Secondly, there's a philosophy behind iBricks, which is file systems are becoming commodity, and we can add value around the file system. Right. So one of the things that we demonstrated in diligence prior to the decision to acquire was the iBricks value prop running in multiple local physical file, different types of local physical file systems. So that gives us a little choice to tailor to different types of usage models and environments if we need to. But the primary reason why we bought them is we saw a more broad interpretation of the file market than what gets reported by analysts. And specifically, the view was around enterprise workflow optimization. Whether it's, call data record processing in telco, whether it's media production and media and entertainment, whether it's pharma research. What we increasingly found is if you look at CPUs, I'm an old CPU designer, on the Halo core today, it's a pretty powerful core. An AMD core is a pretty powerful core. Minimum procurement chunk sizes are 6 cores per CPU, 2 in a server, that's 12 cores, moving to 16. That's a lot of compute power. Memory is getting a lot denser, and we've shown customers server designs with a terabyte of memory capability that are going to ship this year. The bottlenecks are really coming in networking and coming in storage. So there's a big opportunity to optimize enterprise workflows from a storage perspective, and iBricks gave us the opportunity to do that. And we've had a lot of interest on that value, in addition to big content depots. I have one deal in the UK that's we were down selected to a finalist for a proof of concept. It's a 200 terabyte initial deployment, moving to a petabyte within a year. And there's a lot of those type of deals in the pipeline. And so from that perspective, we're bullish that we identified a sweet spot that we're going to go pursue, in addition to broadening the value proposition. Some of that might be in partnership with Microsoft. We have a pretty successful, X3000 and X1000 series, which is Windows storage server. And you saw the announcements with the joint Microsoft HP alliance and the joint investment of, was it 250 million? Yeah. Some of that is based on some of the hardware concepts that we disclosed to them that are becoming a reality this year. There was one part of Microsoft that focuses on business intelligence, said, hey, this is the first product that we've seen that makes a lot of sense for us, and when can we get some prototypes so we can start qualifying? And it's we'll bring the benefits of shared storage SAN type of deployments at the cost structure of DAS. And that one is right around the corner. That's not a year from now, that's months from now.
So if you had to pick one product, or let's say if you had to pick one thing that HP doesn't have in its storage portfolio, what do you think that HP is missing from that perspective? Like one thing that you really wish that HP had from a storage perspective?
I think that in storage, so when you've heard the converged infrastructure pitch, right? So we espouse that customers have stranded pools of resources that we can help integrate into a shared services model. In storage, within the company, we have stranded pools of intellectual property. And we have not been able to weave them together into a powerful portfolio to take to market, right? So we had a lot of IP, and we were challenged in how do we express them out to market and make money on them. And so that's the number one thing that I wished we had when I took over the job. So there's a lot of things out there. Do I wish we had a data domain today? Absolutely. Do we think that we can beat them? Yes. And we have we have performance numbers that you'll see published through the course of this year that are going to prove me right. So we figured out the recipe to be able to do tech transfers out of HP Labs faster, to be able to leverage internal partnerships with things like ProLiant faster, and that's freeing us, our engineers, to innovate faster within our software stacks. So if anything, some of the work around common management couldn't come fast enough, right? Because customers, I'm a firm believer that if you show customer a compelling roadmap of how they have investment protection, that unlocks revenue today. They'll feel more comfortable buying. So if they have to scale their infrastructure and their management scheme doesn't change, that's goodness. And today we have a portfolio that's fairly fragmented, and we need to be able to put a common framework around it. We created the Unified Storage Division under Jeff Hausman, and you saw us bring together the Left-Hand acquisition, the Abrix acquisition, and our backup to disk appliance work, because we believe that there's a lot of synergy there. Beyond that, there's a lot of awesome knowledge of enterprise storage requirements in the EDA team. And we have a lot of collaboration right now between the EDA team and the Unified Storage Division, where we're identifying ways that we can benefit from each other. So, that collaboration and that openness to embrace intellectual property that was stranded and now we can express to market is key. I'll give you a good example. HP Labs has better compression algorithms than anyone else I know in the market. Some of those compression algorithms made it to market through our nearline products, right? So you get into unstructured data, different types of media types. Compression is a big value there in an online storage environment. So with the products that we had before, we didn't have things like policy engines or rule engines to be able to express that compression capability to market. With Abrix, we have a rule engine. We have the capability to have tier storage within a single namespace, and that we're using that as a framework to go hang our compression value, to go hang and expand our deduplication value outside of a backup usage model and bring into a nearline model. And I think that that's going to be key. So I think, for example, NetApp has done a good job of applying deduplication to virtual machine environments. I think, I give them credit. They've done that well. We think we can do better, and we have prototypes that show we are doing better. And we're also taking that deduplication technology and applying it to storage tier. And that one, by the way, will ship this year.
So there has been this big chat about storage tiering is sort of dead. I'm sure you probably heard recently with some news that were floating around. What are your thoughts? Do you really see storage tiering go away? Things moving into sort of one single tier with flash and EFDs and things taking over?
It's a good question. So again, I'm not having what we'll call a classic storage background. You're referring to like hierarchical storage management, HSM. I think that, this week I've talked to a few financial services companies that were here this week visiting us, a large communications company. I'm hosting a large pharma concern next week. All those companies are interested in tiering, right? But and the rationale is 90% of the IOPS that they span is on relatively fresh data. 90% of the capacity, they're storing old data, right? Some of them is because of compliance. They have to keep it around. Yeah. They don't want to keep it around, but they have to keep it around, and they want the cheapest possible storage that will be protected to do that. So my views on solid state is I think EMC for storage, EMC did a good job of capturing the market the last couple of years with solid state drives. Give them credit. My view is different. I view solid state as an extension of main memory, right? So solid state to me is not faster than hard drives but more expensive. It's a lot cheaper than main memory, but today not as fast. And so I'm the sponsor for technology transfers of Memristor technology from HP Labs into enterprise servers and storage. So I don't know how many of you have heard about Memristor.